How you doing, hosers out in Videoland? I am Adam Riot Thorn of Riot at the Movies and Terrible Fest. And who's this guy?
It's me. It's Morgan, and I run the WOC Archive, which is my weird collection of taped off TV content. And we're here as the Video Hosers, our new emblem, to show you weird and wonderful crap that we find on, in my case, on my tapes, and in Adam's case, the shit that people send him.
And as much as you may be excited that may seem to think like there'll only be one show, I'm sorry to tell you, no, that is not the fact. There's going to be count them, three shows with interactive chat throughout your month. One with Riot at the Movies, one at WOC Archive, and one here at... This will be the page when we have like a big thing to do. We're going to do something later on. Like we'll have our WrestleMania and our Royal Rumble here too. We'll have our regular, monthly pay-per-view, not pay-per-views, but I'm just thinking two wrestling. But when we have like a Christmas special, we'll specifically do it here, which will allow you at WC to play whatever tape you want to play. It probably would be Christmassy themed.
It'll still be Christmas themed,
and
no matter
luckily,
what.
Because Christmas and horror movies don't go far away, the Riot the Movies page will probably still be Christmassy, but it doesn't necessarily have to. But this is where we'll be a lot more trendy over here. We may not always wear our plaid to be Canadian, but this is during the week of Canada Day.
It is Canada Day. We're gonna play this on July 1st, so it's Canada Day.
It's
Happy Canada Day.
We're filming so much stuff today, so hosers, happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada. So I'm still wearing Psycho Pike underneath here, so I think that's still suitingly Canadian.
I don't have anything under this shirt, so I'm just gonna leave it on. No, that's behind the paywall if you want me to strip.
Right. But here we're about to talk Canadian.
I thought maybe, if we're going to kick this off, we should kick it off with some Canadian commercials. And shocker. Shocker, right? And I pulled together a collection of perhaps one of the greatest Canadian commercials of all time. I am Canadian.
Oh, I was going to say it's Astar?
No, it's not Astar.
Oh, all right. Astar's only Canadian if you know it's Canadian. It doesn't tell you.
That's true.
Hey, I'm not a lumberjack or a fur trader, and I don't live in an...
Do you remember when this aired?
Yeah,
it was huge.
He became such a big thing that he went around doing this as an act. But even that, since then, no one knows who he was. I think he was like a stand-up guy or somebody. But he was literally doing this as a stick, sponsored for this, for like a year, and then it was done.
And then it died. But for that year, this was like the biggest thing.
In the 90s, when we were raking out new bands, and there was all that CRTC money going into things, there was this desire to give ourselves some sort of to look cool or to have some sort of identity. We eventually
stopped Canadian. We did eventually stop caring. Well, we're not Americans after all. We don't have as much pride in our country as Americans do.
Nor do we feel the need to.
No. All right, so I decided to go through and find there were numerous parodies of this commercial that came out at that point. So here's the Quebecois version.
I don't eat Pepsi in the West for breakfast. I don't watch the hockey game doing it doggy style. And no, I don't know Claude, Manon, or Francois in Abitibi-Témiscamingue, but I'm sure they all have nice teeth.
Nice teeth. Yes, they all have nice teeth.
Quebecois and Joual, not French or English.
English.
Third, not third. And eating French fries with cheese makes sense, mon esti. I believe in distinct society.
Extremely vulgar if you're from Quebec.
As long as someone else pays for it. I believe in language police, not equal rights. And Carlis, I believe that Club Super Sex is an appropriate place for my wife and me to celebrate our anniversaire. What the hell? She goes on at 10 anyway. In Quebec, the actually comes around more often than Halley's Comet. I can get beer at the dépanneur, not at the convenience store.
Great. It's a beautiful land, Quebec.
Right on a red light,
love that this was sponsored by Ed.
I can go right through it. because Quebec is
I
the
do love the
world's
word
largest
tabernacle.
producer of maple syrup.
And Tabarnak, yeah, it's great.
But Celine Dion and Rock Voisine. The land where
Rock
everybody is shut
Good old Rock Voisine.
and the legal drinking age is just a suggestion. Je m'appelle Guy, and I am not Canadian. Maudit tabarnak esti. Merci, salut la visite.
Perfect.
The memories of being 18 and running across the border to Gatineau just so we could get beer.
Yeah, of course. All right, I got another one. Another Canadian institution, perhaps the greatest sketch comedy show to ever come out of Canada. That's right. It's the Royal Canadian Air Force. Not actually the greatest sketch show to come out of Canada, but you know.
From Canmore. I'm not a
Jen from
lumberjack
Canmore.
or a fur trader or a politician.
The greatest Canadian sketch show for our
In an
grandfather.
igloo.
Yes.
I tried, but
Yeah,
it
this
melted
is
the first night
this
I
is our
put it in the
parents' sketch show.
furnace.
God,
I
our
don't own a dog
grandparents
sled,
get
not since it was repossessed. I have a prime minister I can't understand. Not
It's
a
true.
president I don't
It was
want
Jean
to
Chrétien back
understand.
then.
I sew my country's flag on my backpack, so when I travel, people won't overcharge me because they'll know my dollar isn't worth a pinch of loon spit. I believe
That is
in
true.
shaking hands, not giving the finger, not unless you're phoned by a telemarketer. I believe everyone should be allowed into our country unless they play the bagpipes. A toque is a
Fair.
hat, but you can also use it
Someone was
instead of
playing
your
the bagpipes
underpants
down
for
the street
straining your
yesterday.
home
It was
brew.
like a ghost.
A Chesterfield is a couch.
It's horrifying.
It doesn't
You
sound
should run
like
if you ever hear
Chesterfield
bagpipes.
potato.
It
And
means
it's
the end of
pronounced
times.
Z, not Z, Z.
It is pronounced Ed.
Unless it's zebra.
Zebra.
Canada is the second largest landmass if you include Sudbury.
Major Power Ranger villain, Lord Zed.
We're the first nation of hockey.
What if he was
I
Canadian?
got 15 concussions playing
Maybe he
hockey
was.
until the doctor said I
Explains
couldn't
why he was
play
so
anymore
angry.
because my knees were gone.
He would constantly apologize. After
Canada is the
Yeah.
best part of
Fighting.
North
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
America.
sorry for kicking you.
Don't include Sudbury. I am Canadian, but more than that, I'm Mike from Canmore.
Good old Mike from Canmore. And then, of course,
Hey,
the greatest Canadian ever.
who, as always, is 100% confused where the fuck he is.
I'm not a Starfleet commander. or TJ Hooker.
Deep down, yes, he is.
I don't live on Starship NCC-170 or on a phaser.
You can hear people in the audience responding to what it is.
Yeah,
I
just
don't
filling in
know
the blanks.
anyone named Bones, Sulu, or Spock.
Oh, good.
No,
Good one.
I've never had
For life,
green
I was
alien
wondering that
sex,
the science officer wasn't Dr.
but I'm
Spock.
sure it'd be quite an evening.
The baby names? The baby name
I
guy?
speak English.
Yeah. But Mr. Spock was a science officer, so he was also
Oh, he wasn't the dog. Yeah, right.
Not Klingon. I drink
He speaks some
Labatt's, not
Klingon.
Romulan ale. And when someone says to me, live long and prosper, I seriously mean it when I say get a life.
or if he's hosting
My
global
doctor's
news
name
during
is
the
not
Cheers
McCoy,
final
it's
episode.
Ginsburg.
Oh, yeah, right.
Get a life, guys.
And tribbles.
I mean, Shatner
not real animals.
is amazing. We all make fun of him, and he's become a caricature. But he's leaned so hard into it that it just works so well for him.
He is a grumpy old shit, but I mean, he's still
Yeah.
he's a legend for sure.
I've got his signature right back there. His autograph right on my wall.
But I was raised in Montreal.
Host Leslie Nielsen, speaking of legendary Canadians, who no one
Legend.
realizes he's Canadian. So you realize how much he loves fart humor, then you're like, oh yeah, he's Canadian.
Oh, yeah, with his little fart machine that he brings everywhere.
His fart box.
Yeah. Oh, he's got to do a Priceline.com ad.
Stage at Stratford, at Carnegie Hall, Albert Hall,
911.
and the Monkland Theater in NDG. And yes, I've gone where no man has gone before, but was in Mexico and her father gave me permission.
Oh dear Lord!
Oh no, no,
And I am.
Bill, no! What are you saying? Oh, well, if that's how you're doing it, we don't want you anymore, Bill. Sorry.
Get out of here!
Oh,
You're
get out of
canceled.
here, Bill. Canceled. Oh, that was beautiful.
There's a
Well,
man old enough and grumpy enough you could cancel him and he wouldn't give a damn.
He's probably been canceled 8 times already.
Yeah.
I feel like he has, actually. Isn't that great? I love the I Am Canadian ad. That's such a classic Canadian ad. It's like the Budweiser What's Up, guys. It's just, it's literally as iconic of a beer ad as I can think of.
And gone as quickly as it was that big.
Totally gone. I'm amazed, though, that they haven't tried to bring it back. I feel like, now would be a good time and they could do a whole new campaign with different people.
I'll mix them together and it'll be an I Am What's Up!
Those are 2 different brands, but whatever.
It's hard to cross over, right? Now as a guy born in Canada, born in a hospital in Guelph, lived in crappy Barrie for a year or so, then we shipped me off to England. So then I came back, moved to Burlington, moved to extremely loyalist Kingston, and then
did you ever go to the coat factory when you were there in Burlington?
I can get any kind of style I want. I get my money's worth at Burlington Coat Factory.
Burlington Coat Factory, we're more than great coats.
Wrong Burlington.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Continue.
But so I'm Canadian through and through and extremely proud of it. I feel like I'm not as Canadian as you. One of the greatest things for me for Riot of the Movies about being Canadian, one, up here in Toronto, we are basically Little Hollywood. We're where the not top tier films, but the one just below it finishes all of their stuff. So a lot of television that's supposed to be happening, the big budget action television shows happen here. And then the tier just a little less, like, Marvel movie's not going to necessarily film here these days, but Men in Black 75 will film here or something like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Fast and the Furious doesn't film here, but the Triple X movies with Vin Diesel all filmed here.
Damn, it feels good to be back.
So it's like that. But there was a time period in the 80s where not only was it cheaper to bring your crew up here, if you hired enough Canadian people in it, you also got a huge tax break in it. So writers could convince, I've got a script, come up to Canada and do this. So even smaller companies would come up. But we're still on a world of it, because they could save the money, they could make a B movie that looks a little bit better than today's B movies. Not by a whole lot, but and not by the brains or skill or power, just because there was opportunity to save some money so they could use it for bigger explosions. All of the legendary PM Entertainment films are done up here. But the 80s, during that tax shelter era, had some amazing crap with some recognizable Canadian faces in it. And I think we should play a little reel I set up of that right now.
Very loud.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know which one this is.
Some people will call it the Canadian RoboCop.
It's 100% the Canadian RoboCop.
Which is funny because both the RoboCop TV series were filmed in Hamilton and Oakville.
Yeah.
And then the remake from a couple of years ago was filmed right downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
I remember walking down the street, seeing it blocked off, and seeing them drive the stuntman down his bike.
Didn't Stan Winston Studio make this costume for the Vindicator?
They might have.
I'm pretty sure this is a Stan Winston creation.
Because, again, they had the ability to get one really good element in it because of the tax deals.
And Pam Grier's in this movie too.
Yeah,
it's got everybody. There's Toronto. You can see it in the background.
Yeah.
Wow.
How much I cut from this little clip because I specifically just wanted this. Instead of cutting it from the movie, I found a selection of scenes, but they're all Spanish dubs of the film.
Naturally.
But that, he's just, instead of being connected with it, it's just welded onto him. It's just burned onto him.
Yeah, well, that would happen. This one's a classic.
Or giant purple Grimace and Pac-Man are made into one, and we get the brain. Not the brain. Looks
like die. What were those toys? The monster balls or whatever?
Mad balls.
Mad balls. That's what it looks like to me. One of those mad balls.
A giant mad ball is going. And then recent years, we'll go to present day for Wolf Cop, specifically another Wolf Cop, because that's the sequel where he has to fight everyone in a hockey arena to make it even more Canadian.
Oh.
And
Oh.
that so that's to get to present day.
Beautiful.
That I support that movie because again how Canadian that hockey fight ends up being, and that the villain is Murdoch from Murdoch Mysteries. He's
I thought that's who that was.
Yeah,
Yannick Bisson. Good old Yannick Bisson.
You can also see him in one of his first ever roles in the My Pet Monster VHS live action movie.
Let's go, Mel. I think my future's at stake.
But what about my future?
Max, you stay there. Stay.
Thanks, Rod. Stay, Max.
Stay tuned for more Video Hosers coming up after this.
The last woolly mammoths in Canada died nearly 10,000 years ago. We know what they looked like by reconstructing their remains, found preserved in mud and gravel in ancient riverbeds or bogs. This mammoth was fortunate. Others would have to provide remains to be unearthed.
Well, one of my favorite things was the Heritage Minutes because they were stylistic and they told a story about Canadian history. I love that they don't shy away from like the bad side of Canadian history. They actually just tell you like some of the shitty things that we did in Canadian history.
Right.
So you know that's pretty amazing considering that this is what they were playing on television, trying to teach us kids about Canadian history. So here we go. Here's a small collection of some of my favorite Heritage Minutes. Oh yeah, I got these off at DVD. So like I have all of them on a disc that I ordered from the Canadian government.
Oh.
But they reformatted them all to widescreen.
What's he saying?
Oh yeah. This always makes me believe this is exactly how it happened.
It's got to be how this happened.
Canada.
Yes, the village.
Canada. Beg pardon, sir, but the word he used, I think it really means those houses down there.
No, believe me, I know the word. It means nation, and Canada is its name.
Yep. Well, the priest can't be wrong, right? If the priest says it, it's got to be true. Yeah, this one was a French one that they dubbed into English because they did them like both, right? Yeah, like I love that they basically like show the hubris of the settlers coming to Canada and not having the fucking wherewithal to like understand what the indigenous people were saying to them. Perfect, because of course this is exactly what happened. It was 100% what happened in history. All right, here's another one.
And he can lift anything. Anything at all. He's that strong.
Joe Schuster, will you stop or you'll miss your train?
I was a big comic book fan, especially of Superman back in the day.
This feels like it's an episode of Murdoch Mysteries.
Yes, this definitely does.
A what?
A cape. Wearing these blue tights.
A hero in tights, really. Here it is.
Listen, Lois, this guy is faster than anything, I swear.
If you're not fast, you're gonna miss your train.
That's it. A bullet. He's faster. No, he's faster than a speeding bullet.
Come on, get
like
on it.
The weird
no one's gonna read a comic
old
strip
Canadian
about a strong man
accent
in
that she's
tights, Joe.
doing in
It'll
this
never
that makes me
fly.
think it's an episode of Murdoch Mysteries.
Yeah, it definitely feels Murdoch Mysteries.
See what your cousin Frank says in Toronto.
Wait, Lois. I've got something for you. Take it. It's a gift.
That be his cousin Frank Schuster?
You never know, it might be worth something someday.
Look at that. Isn't that amazing? America's greatest superhero was created by a Canadian.
Or Canada's greatest superhero created by an American, Wolverine.
Oh, fair point. Fair point. This one was one of my favorites when I was a kid.
Hi, Mr. Taylor. Now, when are you going to bring in Bridge on the River Kwai? The reviews are fantastic.
Well, I'm still doing 50% business with witness for the prosecution.
We saw that last week, and we seem to be the only ones here to see this foreign movie.
Do you remember this one?
Pictures again.
No,
if we
I
don't
don't.
take Kwai now, they're going to send it across the street.
Well, they can't. Wait a second. Little Elgin is half the size of the main one, isn't it? So I moved witness into Little Elgin and Kwai into the big, and I filled both. So then I tried a 5-plex in Toronto. So I said if I was the first to split an old movie house into 2 small ones, or 5, then what about 15 houses in one?
15, Nat.
Not 15? Then what about 21?
There you go.
When Matt Taylor opened the world's biggest multiplex in Toronto, he changed the way the world goes to the movies.
And now...
And we created the multiplex here in Canada. So the concept of a multiplex theater was a Canadian invention.
And now we're all happy with only like 3 screens.
Yeah, 100%.
3 screens and one IMAX and one that sells lobster to you while you go upstairs.
And that multiplex, the first 5-plex that he's talking about, is the theater at the Yorkdale Mall. That was the first actual full multiplex that was ever built in the entire world.
And they built them all around it after.
Yeah, they built them. Well, they put it into the mall, but yeah, and then that is now one of the worst cineplexes in the entire city. There you go. Canadian history. All right. And just because you brought it up, and because we couldn't leave this one out, that's right. Burnt toast.
So
Every kid growing up in Canada, if you say, I smell burnt toast, this is what they think of.
Ooh, this is the long version of the commercial too. Usually a short version that doesn't show this part.
Yeah, right. You just get the surgery
she
part.
smells something burning. Now, if we can provoke that smell by probing the surface of
Ugh.
the brain.
It also helps to clarify it, to explain that that's
Do you feel anything?
her association.
Yeah, her trigger.
But if you don't hear that part in the shorter version, a lot of kids thought that
Everyone just smell, yeah.
you smell burnt. Well, no, if you had a stroke, you smelled burnt toast. Like that always happened, and that's not the case. It was her specifically.
Toast.
Burnt toast.
Dr. Penfield, I can smell
Dr.
burnt toast.
Penfield.
Dr. Wilder Penfield. He cured my seizures and hundreds more. They say he drew the roadmap of the human brain. We just called him the greatest Canadian alive.
All right, this is the part. Now give me a spoon.
No more chilled monkey brains. Was that great? I loved those Canadian heritage moments. And honestly, like this disc that I got, it's got every single one of them. It's over an hour of them. There's so many of them.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, they all through the 90s were constantly
spreading
them out with new ones on there.
And like there were so many when I was skimming through the DVD to try to find the ones that I played here. Like there were so many of them. Like I don't remember ever seeing this one. So there
I don't remember seeing the multiplex one. The other 3, I remember quite well.
Yeah, I used to love the multiplex one when I was a kid. I thought that was so fascinating. Yeah.
So I'm gonna do my rant on the heroes in the Canadian culture because we mentioned Siegel and Schuster there with Superman, and of course, as I said, Americans made Wolverine. The amount of times that they have threatened to change Wolverine's history and try to make him into not from Canada, and then they renege that, and he always ends up being back in Canada.
Well, yeah, of course.
Growing up in the 90s and seeing Spider-Man and Amazing Friends and the one failed episode of that X-Men cartoon, at that point he was Australian because everyone who was short and hairy and tough was Australian, so
naturally.
Yeah, but well before there was an X-Men movie, a lot of people were like, well, Mel Gibson should be Wolverine. Luckily by that point he was too old. But
he kind of does. It would have worked. He has a Wolverine vibe to him,
but was still an Australian who ended up playing him too, so
yeah,
it
true.
ended up being that way. A lot of people will say the greatest Canadian hero is Captain Canuck, and I'm going to tell you, I hate those comics. I've tried, and even I have two friends who write for Dan and Adrian, both write for the several different universe of Captain Canuck comics that are out there right now. You can see them on an old episode of Right at the Movies. I interview them and talk about that on Canada Day, maybe like 2 years ago. We eat craft dinner as we discuss about Captain Canuck and what's going on at that point.
As you do.
And the newer ones, I've gotten a few kicks out of it, but in general, it's all been about Puck from Alpha Flight, the all Canadian X-Men team, having a dwarf who can turn himself into a bowling ball. I just relate to it. That's all I need.
Is that your true anamorph form?
Right.
Is a bowling ball or a dwarf? So you would turn into a dwarf and then turn into a bowling ball.
And I mean, Puck didn't really turn into a bowling ball. He just wore all black and he would just roll up like this and then just throw himself into people. That's all he did. Simple. That's all I needed. They had a Sasquatch on their team. He was just a Sasquatch. Like, yeah. Who cares? It's great. But there are so many famous Canadian wrestlers. As a wrestling fan, we can never play clips of wrestling on these shows. So we're just going to flash some photos, as I mentioned, some of these people that are super relevant to me. Everyone's going to say, oh, Adam, you love the early 90s, the comic book cartoon costume characters in wrestling, so you love the Mountie. He was okay. It was cool that he brought a cattle prod and he zapped people. I like when he fought the big boss man for a while. I do like that story that he fought the Dynamite Kid in a back alley in a non-wrestling match. And he put a bunch of quarters in a sock and hit him in the face with it. But
as you do,
that's the only interesting thing for the Mountie for me. When it comes to French Canadian wrestlers, it's Rene Dupree for me, who has he used to bring his dog Fifi to the ring and wear big robes. Wow. But he used to be part of La Resistance, about a tag team that wanted to separate from Canada. They were Quebecers, their whole thing was just being separatists. But when he left La Resistance, he got replaced by Ron Conway, an American Irishman, who would still dress up in the blue and white Quebec outfit. And it was like, does he want to separate from Canada as well? I don't understand. But he went on his own, and that's when he would wear the big robes and had Fifi the dog. But a month in, he had to get rid of Fifi the dog because Fifi the dog bit like 3 people at a show once. And then he got fired for the greatest reason any wrestler could get fired. All the other wrestlers wanted him out of there because Rene Dupree's penis was too big. People would keep getting whacked in the face by it, or it would fall out of his shorts. And
oh my God.
Were made very uncomfortable about his penis. At least that's the rumor on the internet about Rene Dupree. And sometimes when you see him, you're like, yeah, maybe that might be. So congratulations, Rene Dupree, for the one guy to get fired from his job and be like, yeah, justified reason. I'm fine. But the legend
way to go out
is the tag team of the Canadian Earthquake, later just called the Earthquake, and they took off the Canadian sticker off his belly because they didn't want to push that. But Dino Bravo, the Canadian strongman, who is absolute legend, was kind of boring to me as a kid at that time until you look at his old stuff and you find out his incredible history that he died by getting shot in the face while drinking a beer sitting in front of the TV because he was involved with the Quebec mob for selling illegal cigarettes.
Yeah, of course.
What a way to go. What a legend. Congratulations, Rene Dupree and Dino Bravo, for being the greatest Canadian wrestlers of all time. People talk about these guys with the last name Hart. I don't know who they're talking about. I've never heard of them. Move on.
It's all about Dino Bravo for you.
Dino Bravo and Rene Dupree. Yeah, Quebec is the only part of Canada that I recognize.
I always thought you were a separatist. That all makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I thought we should bring it back to a little bit more education. And what's more educational than learning about the nation's bird? You've all seen them. You all know their sounds. That's right. It's the Canada goose.
Every country has its national bird. They're usually stately, like the eagle, the black swan, and the heron.
Not Canada.
So why did Canada
Nothing stately.
get goosed?
Canada geese are a native bird to southern Ontario, and at one time disappeared, except for some birds that were kept in captivity. The birds that we have in southern Ontario now have originated from those captive flocks. And now, of course, in southern Ontario, there's thousands of geese all the way from the Quebec border right down through southwestern Ontario. And really, in Toronto, in this part of the world, they've become sort of a symbol of Toronto. There's
next to the raccoons,
water around
to
for
all
the
of
birds,
New York State,
and lots of grass. And these birds are grazers, so it's ideal.
They're
They have
poopers,
lots
that's
of
for sure.
access from the water to areas where there's grass.
Green shit
Canada geese generally fly
everywhere.
in V formation, a pattern requiring the least amount of effort from the flock as a whole. The leader flying at the point of the V breaks an
Flock as a
invisible
whole.
trail through the air. The weaker birds take positions in his wake in the slipstream of easier air,
Oh,
creating the
that's
shape of a V.
Many people, it's a symbol of spring and fall when you see those V's of Canada geese flying north or south, depending on the time of year.
The familiar sight of the Canada
end of
goose
times every
is
time I
as
see
much a
them.
national symbol as the beaver or the maple leaf.
When you know the
In
dark
fact,
times
the
are
bird
coming.
has never officially been recognized by the
The
government.
green poo times.
And the position of Canada's national
Oh.
bird is still
When
up
you
for
see them
grabs.
flying away in the winter,
Is
you know
any
it's,
birdie interested?
you know winter's coming. If someone was to call the raccoon the trash pandas as they do, the Canada geese should very easily be called the trash duck.
They are the trash duck. You're 100%. 100% the trash duck. You know, that reminds me an awful lot of some other birds that we saw in a video. Here's one of our classics, and I thought maybe this would be a good time to show it. So this is from First Choice Super Channel back in the day. They would do the Great Canadian Shorts Festival, and so it was like user-submitted shorts, and then if they screened on television, then people could vote for them, and if you won the contest of the year, you got $10,000. And so, you know, lots of good stuff got put on or sent in. Tons of interesting shorts. And then there's this, the birds. And here we go. This is, I mean, I would have voted for it, but I don't know if anybody else did.
From big flockers, as they refer to those guys, to little quackers.
Little quackers.
Welcome
I love
to
this
the
graphic.
annual
Yeah,
Great
yeah, for
Canadian Shorts Contest, where you pick the winner. Stay tuned for the title
You
and
pick it.
ID number that follows the short that will allow you to vote for the selection of your choice.
Did you ever be later, so like it wouldn't be in your radar because it was a kids show? I'm assuming only on CBC.
On camera?
That
Okay, here we
Sean
go. Now look at
Cullen
these ducks. My
was
gosh, they're right after
the
one
voice
another.
of a
Let's look at them
Canada
here.
goose
Keep an
that
eye
would
on this
watch
now.
animated shorts.
Geese. Well,
Oh, I
that's
don't remember
close
that at
enough.
all.
Look at what that was, but
However, you're right. They're geese.
because I bumped into Sean Cullen
And
a lot,
we're
and I
panning
keep
around here. Look at
thinking
this
of,
one
like,
go. Look at him chase.
how
Look at him chase that guy. Wow, look
terribly
at that.
Canadian that one cartoon was that he did.
Boy, I wouldn't want to be a duck or a goose.
Look at
on
him
that
go.
guy. Look at, he looks pretty
Oh.
mean, doesn't he? Out of my way.
See, like,
Way
they're
to
really
go.
evil.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh, the battle's on. Looks like there's going to be a battle. Yeah, there's a battle.
To work in an office. that
There's
was
a battle.
right near a lake,
Uh-oh.
and they would come and hang out.
That
in the
sound.
parking lot
Oh,
and hang
there,
across.
got
They'd
some
hang
of that.
across the back door. So if you went out the
There.
back area, the people went for like the smoking area. They'd like yell at you and hiss at you.
That sound is horrifying.
Oh yeah.
Well, that must be his victory song or whatever, because he's certainly singing. Here we are taking a little duck here. Is that a little duck? A little quacker there. That's a
Little quacker. That's a little
whatever it
quacker.
is, widgeon. A little
You
widgeon?
love that almost as much as
Well,
you
that's what
love
we're taking
Spuds
pictures
McKenzie
of
and
now. Anything
Slipper.
else? Maybe you can...
So fucking cute.
Okay, here's the swan. Nice looking bird. Looks like he's walking
Big
away.
old
I actually
shit
don't want his
ball.
picture taken. Oh my goodness!
Oh.
Did you see
Oh,
that? They crashed.
collision.
How's your light? Tell me
Crash
when you're
test
ready, 'cause I
birdies.
wanna talk. Camera's on. We're rolling. Here's the picture. And here's the duck.
Could you imagine
wandering around.
submitting
You never
this?
Get this close to these wild ducks.
It's just a
And they're
home
right-
food.
right
It's a
in
home
front of you.
video. It's nothing more than
They
that.
certainly are interesting.
I love it.
Which of course, to people like you and us, it's brilliant now.
Yes, this is brilliant. I mean, I would vote. Way to go,
The
Sabos.
preceding short has
So
been
there you go.
selected
If you
as
want
the
this to win,
fifth
vote number 19.
Annual Great Canadian Shorts Contest.
You get right on
Vote
that.
now. Ballots available in Primetime Magazine.
You can get your ballot right now in Primetime Magazine.
Call in into that phone line, and
Yeah.
you could get right on the phone with them, and you tell them what you want, and they would charge you $3.
Yeah. And then they
Which
make
reminds
a
me.
buttload of money.
We're gonna start doing segments for this show. We're gonna try to make real form for this one. This is the All Canadian Canada Day show, so we're whatever we want, wherever we want.
Yeah.
But
Trying
we
things out.
discussed some ideas for segments. Did you have one ready for this one?
I do have a segment ready. I thought we could try this one out. So one of my favorite things watching television as a kid was all of the call-in lines, but never being able to actually phone any of them because then I would be calling on my parents' phone bill and I'd have to explain it to them. It would have been a whole thing. So I just never did. But back in the day, there were phone lines for all sorts of different things, not just sex lines, but of course that was one of the primary options. But you could get like Miss Cleo, so you could get your fortune read or whatever.
It was either dirty or expensive. So
yes, either dirty or expensive. But this one that I've pulled, actually, it's free. They just keep saying it. It's free. So I thought we'd give it a call and find out if it actually is free.
So therefore it's dirty.
It is dirty.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm in.
I mean, if we're gonna kick this off, what are we gonna do? We got to call a sex line for the first one, right? So here we go. Let me show you what this line is, and then we'll give it a call and see what happens.
All right.
Do you want to play? Give us a call.
It's for Pacific Rim.
Call me tonight.
Apparently.
Call me now. Call us tonight.
I would imagine it would be like
we're waiting for your call.
First 10 minutes are free or whatever.
10 seconds are free.
It's free and it's fun.
It's free, so
I have no idea if this phone number still works, and sometimes these aren't going to work because they won't.
Adults only, please.
Whoa.
Let the games begin.
1-800-528-4500.
Hi, I've been waiting for your call. Are you ready for some tantalizing
Hear that?
fun? Me and my sexy girlfriends are hot, wet, and ready to party. We can all come out and play together. The hottest action is right here, where nasty girls take it any way you want.
Oh boy.
Pleasures await you.
I don't know what I expected, but
Come on in and play with me. If you're an experienced caller, enter your credit card number at any time. One more time, you can give it to me anytime you want. That's right. Just enter your credit card number at any time during this message.
Not free
this
anymore.
Call will be billed at
No, so I guess it's not free.
Per minute, depending on
I need
menu
to listen to
selection,
that.
and will discreetly appear on your credit card statement. A toll-free customer service number will be provided later in this message, as well as on your credit card statement. In most cases, we can help you immediately. So please call us 24 hours a day if you have any billing questions.
They're being all sexy, but they're like, okay, for legal reasons.
This call has an access fee of $5.99.
all right. Well, I think I'm not going to put my credit card information in for that. I don't necessarily want to find out what's on the other end. I can only imagine. But I've started pulling tons of different phone lines. I got lots of different options. Basically, we can just call anytime there's a number. We can call and find out what's on the other end.
Dirty phone numbers. Let Morgan pull it. Don't pull it yourself.
Yes, if you guys have any phone lines that you saw as kids on television or remember, please send them in. We will give them a shot. I'd love to call the Freddie line.
The Freddie line is exactly what I was thinking. I was just going to say that.
All right. Well, and we got lots of other ideas. I mean, I've been coming up with some ideas. Obviously, we got our call-in number. I'd love to look at some celebrity endorsements because there's tons of great celebrity endorsement commercials floating around out there. Special TV offers.
I have been threatened by but because this is now 3 shows we're doing, an organization of secret society has been sending me messages saying you're doing too much. You're taking up too much of the internet. And when they heard that we're going to be taking up too much of it with being Canadian, they were getting really angry. And then
Silver Dragon Ninja, an action-packed thriller of unbridled ambition. Silver Dragon Ninja. Power-hungry ninjas contrive to control the world by any means. corrupt police and beautiful, sexy agents are but unwilling pawns in this game of deadly manipulation. Sorry, Chief, I have bad news. What happened? I fell. You fool. Silver Dragon Ninja, the true ninja spirit. Silver Dragon Ninja.
What was that? Where did those ninjas come from?
They've been sending me messages from the dark web. I really should have not clicked on that ad on the internet.
When in doubt, don't click.
When everyone's like, well, if it's not a sexy ad, it's fine, but don't click on the ninja ads either, or then ninjas start telling you better mention us on your web show, and if you don't, we'll invade. We'll just show up and attack. So there you go. That may happen next month, unless I think of a way of finding a Canadian ninja video, and I don't know of any.
I can't imagine that there are any Canadian ninja videos.
Like a lumberjack ninja. There should be.
There should be.
Yeah,
100%.
To go along with that French Canadian vampire show.
Oh, somebody call Frank D'Angelo. He should make that. I mean, he's already made one Canadian vampire movie.
Oh, I'm thinking of the Canadian vampires. Forever Night. What a load of shit that show. The original pilot for that starring Rick Springfield, and it was going to be like in Seattle, and they're like, what has a tower that looks kind of like Seattle? We'll film it in Toronto. We'll now say it's in Toronto. We'll do it there. Yeah.
Perfect.
Bless that crappy show.
Well, speaking of the tower, I think you sent a clip that
I
fits
did this
perfectly to this.
for you because I thought, you play commercials. That's what WOC does. It's all about that. You do your live show where we watch a full tape that someone recorded off TV so we can get through that to watch the commercials. And then on your YouTube page, you find some of the most iconic, legendary, lost ads and stingers from Canadian television. So I thought, again, with me being not that Canadian in my own way, I'm not like igloos and woodsy and lumberjacks, and I don't wear plaid all the time. I did have like 7 of these green plaid shirts so I could tie them around my waist in the 90s so I could look like a grunge band. That's the only reason why.
So cool.
So cool, yeah. But a moment of history in Toronto and a commercial that as a kid blew my mind, and I went to the event when it was happening and I loved it, was making Canadian sci-fi, which is so not part of our mentality. But we've had tons of astronauts. We made that arm thing for the space station. We've been involved in the Canadian space race, has been a big part of the American space race a lot. So when CN Tower did the tour of the universe, that was the most badass thing on the planet. Maybe if I was there not as a kid, I might not have thought that, but that memory of going to that at least twice has stuck with me forever.
I never got to go on this because I didn't move to the South in time for it to exist. It had already left. But this thing's really cool. So do you know who made this? It's Douglas Trumbull, the guy who did all the visual effects for 2001: A Space Odyssey. He's the dude that created this.
It wasn't just the simulator rides. Simulator rides were all the explosion in the mid 80s. And I only went when we would visit on holidays back to family over here. So I went with like my aunts and that. I didn't go with like my parents and my memories of this. But you go through a whole kind of museum trip before you get into that, as well as leaving it on the way out. It looks like you leave in a different direction, so it looks like you're leaving at a different space station.
So
you
cool.
have to have like your sign up. They kind of induct you into the space camp, and you
check your passport.
And then you get to like look around in this one lobby before the next ride happens, because each ride took a little bit of time. So when you hung out in that lobby, it was like hanging out in a space museum. There was just like different things to like check out and like to press buttons on and shit like that. So for
so sad I missed
kid,
this.
it was so much fun.
All right,
So,
here
yeah,
we go. Let's
here it
watch this ad.
Experience an unbelievably realistic simulation
so
of space
cool.
travel. Tour of the universe.
I loved it!
The only spaceport dedicated to tourism and pleasure. Destination Jupiter.
Oh, that gyroscope thing?
It's
like flying. Very exciting.
See, hear, and feel special effects in person. Board your Canadian Airlines interplanetary shuttle.
You're really fantastic.
This is it. At the CN Tower, Toronto, Canada. Tour of the universe. Prepare to be amazed.
Oh, so cool.
It's one of the biggest memories because of the laser thing. When you leave out into the new station that the ship has dropped you off at, there's just before the exit doors that are your classic big metal doors, because they've dropped the gimmick by this point, because you're about to walk into the lobby after that. But just before it, there's a Mr. a dude, guy called Dave. No, but like it's like this spraying mist down that's shooting the lasers into it. So
it's like they're delousing you as you go out. Yeah,
it makes it just look like a green wall, and you see the people ahead of you disappear into the wall because it just blocks out the mist, solidifies the color of the green lasers. So it looks like they just like go like a special effect that they disappear into the green wall, and then once you're past that, you're now again in just a hallway and then downstairs.
That's it.
That's
you get one last cool thing.
Yeah, that's how you end the illusion in this really cool just escape. It looks like a bad 80s effect when someone would get sucked into the TV or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so sad that I missed this. I've seen these ads before. They've come up on my tapes, and I just wish I could go back in time and ride this thing. You know what? I do have one more clip. I just realized I got one more clip. So let's leave on a little more Canadian educational interstitial. I'm sure that you remember this. I'm sure you've seen this many times.
I don't recognize it. Oh, yes.
Do you not remember the Hinterland Who's Who?
I just don't think I ever paid attention to the title.
Beautiful members of the owl family, the snowy owl. The female is not as brilliant white as the male. Her plumage is barred and makes her less conspicuous against the tundra. The snowy owl's major source of food is the lemming. The availability of the lemming has a major effect on the owl population.
Tasty lemming.
She lays her eggs in a dent in the ground, which she scrapes herself.
Put them in a blender and you make lemon
Incubation starts as soon as the first egg is laid. So the chicks hatch one after another.
Oh, look at these
there can be
terrifying
quite a difference in
birds
size between the oldest and the youngest.
Owls freak me out. I don't know why, but they really do.
Owl are the feathery legs. Even the claws are covered with dense white feathers.
Baby birds
and
are
the large yellow
gross.
eyes with their composed stare. For more information about the snowy owl, why not contact the Canadian Wildlife Service in Ottawa?
Why not?
Why not?
There you go. It's a little Hinterland's Who's Who. I used to love those when I was a kid.
You
So
said,
that's
why not
it.
contact them? We should get their phone number and call them and go, hey,
It's
how's the owl?
That's it. That's all I have for this inaugural episode of Video Housers.
Yeah, we're just thinking what we're gonna do for the show. How are we gonna set it up? We're gonna throw weird things in. We're just gonna experiment. We're gonna make it a little bit more off the hook. It is Video Hosers. It won't always be this Canadian, but it will always be a little bit Canadian.
It'll always be a little bit Canadian. Yeah.
But in the future, it means you've already got a stacked month. You've got Right at the Movie Show, you got a WOC show, you got this one, plus all the other videos we put on our own individual pages as on a regular basis. The things will slow down a little bit in general, and won't be any like real live shows and stuff like that coming up because somebody's getting married.
I am getting married.
So like, isn't that fancy? I will point out though, as a shout out, a show I just booked the date for back in Eyesore on August 25th for in the heat of that very overly heated place. Can I say heat more? So I'll be blaring all the fans with all the films that have come in to my Film Freeway page, which as of this week is no longer free submissions. It's a whopping toonie for it to stay Canadian. It's a toonie, but it's an only $2 American, so $2 Canadian. So for Americans, it's barely anything.
It's like 62 cents or something.
Yeah, probably $1.62 right now. We're not doing that.
You're right. No, we're not doing that bad. Just feels like we are.
That's at least to slow things down, so I don't have 5,000 more films to get through. but I did get a good chunk of local filmmakers, and a lot of them were very young though, and I was like, that's weird. So I reached out to every one of the high school and college kids in Toronto and said, hey, this is what we do at Eyesore. Do you want to just come and play your stuff and bring your friends in and just play
awesome.
And then you guys can all meet. And every one of them said yes.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
So on the 25th, they're gonna, all their shorts are really short, like maximum like 5-6 minutes. I think there's one guy who's just graduated from college. And we see a guy in his like early 20s. His is like maybe 9 minutes. That's like the longest short. And then I got a guy who is two guys who are graphic artists who've done their stuff for a while, and they sent in very small shorts. They're going to play their thing first because they actually work in the Canadian sort of business. They're going to kind of like say what they do and why they're still in the business, and then all the students are just going to play their stuff.
That's awesome.
And then I'll do something silly at the end because I can't help but steal the attention. But yeah, that's going to be a big thing because the whole reason why Eyesore has had that theater and why I've always wanted to help it out is because it builds to a community. There is a community that's here. There is a community of musicians, of artists, of filmmakers, of writers, and sometimes they don't work together well enough, which is some part of the problem in Toronto. The wonderful thing of how we keep ourselves so busy here, but so apart sometimes, especially after COVID. So August 25th, mark your calendars for it. If you do get a chance, I'll make sure there's lots of freezies and cold water for everybody. We'll try to squish into that back room. It will be, again, a very short show, and it just gives a chance for these aspiring new creators to make more stuff, and we'll hopefully see more of them in the future.
Oh, great. Well, maybe we can do some live video hoser stuff too.
Yeah, and we'll, of course, with all this stuff, once this guy's off, done being married and done with his vacation, done with his honeymoon. Are you going on honeymoon right away after?
We're gonna go to Niagara Falls for a couple of days. I booked a suite that comes with a hot tub in it, of course, as is traditional.
Too. I was just wondering what you wanted to do about the arrangements.
What arrangements, Clark?
Well, I was thinking primarily about the sleeping arrangements.
Coming up for me, aside from my wedding, is on the WOC Archive Twitch. You can catch Camp Cucamonga on Thursday, July 20th. So that'll be 20 days from when this is airing. You can catch it.
I want everyone to know that I'm very happy how you got to say Cucamonga this time, because when we recorded that episode, it was very difficult for you to say.
Yeah, Cucamonga was hard for me to say. And you know what? After all of that time, I finally practiced it and I finally got it. So you can hear me saying Cucamonga correctly, or on Thursday, July 20th, you can hear me say it wrong many times. So yeah, join in for that. It's quite the show. It's got Urkel, it's got Candace Cameron from Full House, it's got Jennifer Aniston, it's got two people from The Wonder Years, and it's got John Ratzenberger and Sherman Hemsley. It's amazing. And G. Gordon Liddy is in it too. Yeah, what a fucking cast. Anyway, so tune in on the WOC Twitch for that. Adam will be there to join as well, and we're going to talk about camp. Maybe watch a little camp cartoon, and I might even show some photos of when I went to camp. You'll just have to tune in to find out.
And I'll just talk about my allergies. Also, with the Right of the Movie page, I do have a couple of slotted guests to come in during July, so I haven't filmed those yet, so I don't want to jinx those. But I will also be showing a few little clips from some of those students who have sent in their films, so you'll get to see micro clips of their shorts.
Wow.
So you'll get an idea.
Who likes short shorts?
Yeah, well, I thought of that. Like, that's a terrible word to say. Who likes short shorts? No, they're just because some people send in short films that are like 30-40 minutes long, and these are all like 5 minutes, and I'm only going to show like a minute of them, so that you have a reason to want to see more. So that'll be happening on the Riot at the Movies page, as well as a breakdown of what nonsense has come in for next year's Terrible Fest. So stay tuned as well, because like Sherman Helmsley, now that we've got 3 shows, we're moving on up.
We're moving on up. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 1 of Video Hosers. Thanks, Adam. This is great. I look forward to all the nonsense.
And all I can say is take off, eh?
I love this.